Hey everybody, it's your Gay Sports Fanatic here. Welcome back. We are looking at the Sweet 16 in the NCAA Basketball Tournament 2025. Now, one thing that we need to know when we look at the Sweet 16 is that really the dominant teams are winning these games. And there have been a lot of great games, really. There have been some, but not a lot. So when Arkansas is your Cinderella team, I mean, which is a traditional basketball power. When they're the Cinderella team, that tells you all you need to know about how this tournament's went. That favorites are winning. So now one mid-major in this Sweet 16, that's really unusual. Usually there's two or three, maybe. I also got my SEC flag up here because they deserve to have it. Whether you like them or not, they got 7 teams in the Sweet 16. That is a record. And I also want to give a shout out to a conference, which is the Big Ten, which I've said all season was having a down year. Their weak conference this year as far as the Big Ten goes. But you know what? Here in this tournament, they got 4 solid teams in the Sweet 16. So without further ado, let's jump in. I'm going to make picks first on who's going to get to the Elite 8. Then I'll tell you who's the Final 4. So let's start up with our first game looking at Auburn against Michigan. I've been big on this Michigan team ever since the end of the year. I took them to win the Big Ten conference title, which they did. All they've done is play fantastic ever since. They're disciplined. They play with, like I said, they play with a lot of discipline. They're well coached. They're at their peak right now. Auburn is the opponent. Now, Auburn has been, through most of the year, pretty much picked as the best team in college basketball. And I think they've been underperforming. And I think there's something to be said for how they're just not living quite up to their potential, I believe. So you know what? I'm going with a surprise here, folks. Auburn, Michigan. I'm taking Michigan to keep going. Michigan then will face the winner of Ole Miss and Michigan State. Michigan State, probably the best team in the Big Ten. Well, they were the best team in the Big Ten in the regular season. They're up against Ole Miss. And I'm going to surprise here, too. Ole Miss ran Iowa State out of the building. And that wasn't partially Iowa State did not play terrible defense. But you also have to say that the way that Ole Miss was shooting, they were just unconscious. So Ole Miss, I think, will keep that up against Michigan State. Give me Ole Miss. So you've got Michigan against Ole Miss for the Final 4. Next, let's move down to the next bracket. We have Florida against Maryland. Florida, in my opinion, right now, may change next week. Right now, Florida to me is the best team in the tournament. I love this team. To me, they really have almost no weakness. Florida is playing Maryland. I see no contest here. Give me the Gators going on to play for the Final 4. Next, underneath that, we have Texas Tech against the Cinderella team of the tournament, which is the Hogs. Can the Hogs keep their magical beat going in the NCAA tournament? I'm going to pull another rabbit out of the hat with a shocker. I'm taking the Hogs to beat Texas Tech and play for the Final 4, get to the Elite 8. Next, we've got a Duke team that has looked terrific. But I want to point out something I've always felt about Duke this year, which is they're not, as we say in tennis, match tough. They really have not played a lot of good teams during the regular season, and they've had kind of an easy run of it. The committee set them up pretty easy to get to this point in the tournament, and I think they will keep going. Duke is playing Arizona for a chance to in the Elite 8. I'm going to take Duke to beat Arizona. Playing Duke will be the winner of BYU and Alabama. BYU has really overperformed, but they don't have the guns and they don't have the talent to keep up with Alabama. So you've got Duke and Alabama for the Final 4. Next, let's go to the next region. We've got Houston out of the Big 12 against Purdue. I think this won't be that close either. This is a game where I solidly like Houston to move on. Next, we've got Tennessee and Kentucky, an all-SEC fight. This is tough. This is really a tough one. In the end, I'm coming down with Tennessee to take out Kentucky. So you got Houston and Tennessee playing for the right to go to the Final 4. So let's jump back up and let's look at our Elite 8 games and let's get our Final 4 here, okay? So I've got Michigan against Ole Miss. I'm sticking with Michigan. So give me Michigan Wolverines in the Final Four. A real surprise in this tournament. In the next bracket, you've got Florida against the Cinderella Hogs. I think the Hogs' run ends here because Florida is just too good, period. I see Florida moving on to the Final Four. That means Michigan will play Florida for the national title slot. Let's go to the other side. We've got Duke up against Alabama. Here's where I say Duke, who I said earlier, is not match tough. They are not battle tested. They're finally meeting a team that is they're equal or superior in talent. Duke and Alabama, give me the Tide. I'm taking the Tide to be in the Final Four. I don't know. I should check this before I got on here. I don't think Alabama's ever made the Final Four in basketball that I know of. You guys check me out on that. I don't think they have that I ever know of. But anyway, I should have looked at that up. But anyway, so I'm taking Bama onto San Antonio in the Final Four. Duke out. Next, we have Houston against Tennessee. Struggled here. All these games now. A lot of them you don't really know, but I'm taking Houston to beat Tennessee and to move on to the Final Four. So here is your Final Four in San Antonio. It's Michigan against Florida and Alabama against the Houston Cougars. So you guys, let me know what you think. We'll see what happens. I will record a show next week after the Final Four. I'll get in a quick show and tell you who I think is going to win the championship game. But right now, I'm not even going to tell you who I think is going to be in the championship game. Just your Final Four is Michigan, Florida, Alabama, and Houston. So you guys, please comment. I'm sure somebody thinks I'm, full of it here. And please feel free to like or dislike if you want. And of course, subscribe. I always got to get that in. Subscribe if you want to see all these little things that I do. So you guys enjoy. This is when it gets really good. This is the best of basketball. So you guys enjoy watching your Sweet 16 to Final Four basketball. Thank you.